Hey, everybody. Happy Keon Keeley Day for those who celebrate.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. This is your team every day. And hey, I'm trying something new, and I screwed that up, so I'm just going to pretend like I'm starting over. Hey, everybody, welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. Jimmy, how are you today?
Pretty good. We are your team every day. Me and you, not Alabama, me and you.
That's right. We are your team. Jimmy, Keon Keeley, we've all been sitting around on pins and needles, walking on eggshells, eating chicken skins, whatever, all the different things that you say about waiting for something or tiptoeing around something. We've been waiting for Keon Keeley to decommit from Notre Dame. And as luck would have it, he decommitted last night as we were cutting this very podcast. Keon Keeley, one of the top probably 5 to 10 players in the country, if not the top player in the country, defensive end out of Florida. If you don't know, been committed to Notre Dame for about a year. He was the one that sort of started the new Notre Dame coach Marcus Freeman hype train in terms of what he can do when it comes to recruiting. But now he's decommitted. And I would say it's practically a foregone conclusion he's going to commit to Alabama. Is this true?
I'm not going to use the word foregone conclusion, but I will say this, that Andrew Bone, our outstanding recruiting analyst at Bama Insider, within 30 to 40 minutes of the report that Keon Keeley had decommitted, within 30 or 40 minutes, Andrew Bone had RPM'd Keeley to Alabama. So that should show you his confidence, and he's got a really good batting average. So I'll just use that as Exhibit A in my case, that I believe Keon Keeley will be at Alabama, but I don't believe a commitment would be imminent. I think he's going to make some visits, multiple visits through the season, even to Alabama, maybe in October, and then the decision will be after that. But I feel really good about it, and really it'd be unbelievable. I'm not going to say he's Will Anderson, because that's kind of like saying, my uncle is an excellent driver. He's a lot like Jimmy Johnson. I mean, it's like comparing anybody to Will Anderson is just unfair. But I say that Keon Keeley type of ceiling. I mean, he can be, in his class, the best pass rusher in the country. Great kid too, super kid. That's why I was so locked into Notre Dame for a while. Notre Dame tends to recruit pretty good kids, and Keeley's sort of that all-American Notre Dame type. He'll and the kids like him a lot too. I don't know if everybody noticed, but man, a lot of Alabama commitments were chiming in last night, kind of celebrating the news. And Richard Young, I think, had tweeted at one point, hey, watch me flip Keon Keeley to Alabama. Of course, they're both from Florida, so every Alabama fan should be super excited about Keon Keeley. He is he's a big time dude. Caleb Downs. We were so excited about Caleb Downs as being this great safety prospect. I think Keon Keeley as a pass rusher is the equivalent of Caleb Downs as a safety.
Wow. And considering there's still a lot of other big time defenders on the board that would be at least in the area code of his position, like a Quay Russell. James Smith wouldn't be where he'd play, but I mean, if you can partner up a Quay Russell, a James Smith, and a Keon Keeley, not to mention Jordan Renaud, not to mention Edric Hill, who's going to be committing on Monday. Sheesh. Look, it's not going to ease the pain necessarily of losing like Peter Woods, assuming he does not eventually flip to Alabama, or ease the pain of Kelby Collins, but it kind of eases the pain a little bit.
Well, I mean, I guess people can still complain about defensive line because people are going to complain about something, right? And it is true. Alabama does. That's the one position. If you go through position groups. Look, you've knocked it out of the park at quarter, slam home run out of the stadium at running back. Wide receiver, I think they're going to try to add one more. You've already got the top JUCO receiver, who may be the best receiver on the team next year. You've got a really good tight end prospect. You've got 5 offensive linemen. The defensive backfield group is already the best in the country. You're working on making it maybe the best of all time. If you add Keeley, now you got Keeley and Yanze Pierre outside, and Russaw hasn't even committed yet. He's leaning to Alabama. But on the defensive line right now, you just have Hunter Osborne. Edric Hill is committing Monday. I think we all know that Alabama is his likely choice. So after Monday, you probably have Osborne and Edric Hill, but that position group would be behind the others. But it is, what does that say when Alabama signs the number 1 class in the nation, and it's unbelievable, except at one spot, focus. Oh, this isn't any good. You didn't do any good at this spot. That's sort of, like I say all the time, we're not spoiled, we're ruined. You can't sign an A-plus class at every single position. Who's ever done that ever anywhere at any time? Who's ever done that? Never. Yet it's the standard. I mean, come on.
It's especially impressive when you think of how out of touch Nick Saban is with today's youth.
He is. And how Alabama can't possibly compete in this NIL world with the Texas schools and what Miami's doing, and Tennessee and their $8 million quarterback. Alabama can't compete. Well, number 1 sounds pretty good.
You know, you bring up Tennessee and the $8 million quarterback, and I just immediately had this thought. I don't know why this hadn't come to me before. You know what Tennessee and their $8 million quarterback is like to me? Because their class is pretty good. It's a nice class, shaping up nicely. It's a nice class. But it's almost like if you're playing Monopoly and you have only so much money, you're like, I'm spending all my money on Boardwalk. I'm just taking a shot on Boardwalk. And then meanwhile, I'm buying up St. Charles Place. I've got Marvin Gardens. I've got Pacific Avenue. I've got the railroads. I got the utilities. And so the chances are you're going to land on one of my properties. Now, if I land on Boardwalk, I'm going to get hurt. But if you land, you're going to land on mine a lot more than I'm going to land on one of yours. So, Jimmy, we need to tell everybody about Bet Online. BetOnline.net is the place to go to get that bet in. This particular podcast is sponsored by BetOnline. That's how awesome they are. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the number 1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every single phone call that I'm getting in the middle of a live read. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They got you covered. BetOnline is where the game starts. For those who have not noticed, Jimmy is using a new laptop to do this. He brought a new laptop and a new hamster to run the laptop. And I like the fact the symbolism is not lost on me that he's dang near angelic in the background with this.
I don't know why the lighting is.
It's like you're on the set of Jimmy Almighty.
I don't. And here's the. I mean, I guess it's. I mean, it's in the condo and there's no lights on in here, so it's just sunlight from the condo. I guess
it's just your natural goodness.
The sun follows me everywhere I go. Ever since we hired Nick Saban at Alabama, the sunshine just follows me.
That is true. So let's talk about something we brought up yesterday. A couple of injuries. Jordan Battle. He turned an ankle, mildly sprained an ankle. We're not sure yet, but apparently he's going to be okay. He was carted off, which scared a lot of people. Now, I also made mention yesterday, full disclosure, about I had a contact at practice yesterday, and he made mention to me that there could be a defensive player that would be out for a few weeks. He got confused. He got very confused. It is not a defensive player. It is somebody you already know. It is Cameron Latu, may be out a little bit longer. That's all. That's all I'll say about it, because it was a mistake. But because I brought it up here, I felt like I needed to clarify it. And again, that's just me trying to get you guys the information I can. Every now and again, something's going to be wrong. That guy may not necessarily follow Alabama the way we do. And even though he has all this incredible access, which is, I mean, isn't that the way it is? A family friend of ours is one of the richest people in the state of Alabama. I will leave him unnamed, but I'll tell a quick story. I know that they hate when I do this, but I'm going to do it. This particular, oh my God, your whole, every light, for those who don't know, every light in Jimmy's.
I thought it was an eclipse.
Okay. So this particular gentleman who is, again, one of the wealthiest people in Alabama, not kidding. He went to Crystal's several years ago here in Alexander City. And he went to Crystal's and he ordered a very specific order of something like, I want 5 Crystal hamburgers, extra mustard, but absolutely no pickles, and a Diet Coke. And he walks out with his order. He gets to his car. And meanwhile, like this troop of nuns or a football team or something comes in, and like the line now is incredibly long. And so he looks in his order. They gave him extra pickles, no mustard, and a Diet Dr. Pepper. And so he's like, okay, let me go get this straightened out. But he can't wait in the line that's inside the store. So he goes, he's not a very tall man. He goes to the drive-through window, and the window is up here about to his eyeballs. And he says, ma'am, I just want to let you know, as he puts his chin over the thing, he says, ma'am, I got you got my order wrong. And she said, sir, can you see how many people we got here? I ain't got time to be messing with you. And he took his fist and said, I just want my order fixed. And she slammed the window, and he just left. And as my dad said, the next day, if I had as much money as you, they'd be talking about that blank space where that huge explosion was after I fired that cannon at that Crystal's. They'd be talking about that blank space where Crystal's used to be. Because what I would do is blow up that whole thing and buy it. But anyway, I don't know why.
Buy it first. You should buy it first, by the way.
True.
Buy it first. True. You'll avoid at least
I don't know what
legal liability. That's my lawyer argument. I will say that when you said just the words Alabama fans, I got really nervous.
Well, no, that was Jeff Berger back in Auburn in 1987, I think it was. That got in trouble at a Crystal's.
The incident. I was talking about the 2011 incident in New Orleans, Crystal's. Following the LSU.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's very fair.
There was an incident.
Sackgate is what that is.
There was an incident.
So anyway, that's it for the injury situation. I have no idea what spurred that story, and I'm very sorry to the good people at Locked On in Tegna. They hate it when I tell my stories, but every now and again, I'm going to do it just because that's kind of what I do. So, Jimmy, we're going to go ahead and take another break here. And when we come back, I want to talk about a very special honor for the one and only and very svelte Jaheim Oatis. All right, so Jaheim Oatis was just named preseason freshman All-American by 24/7. Again, I can't imagine an honor that means any less. Because just like we talked about yesterday on the podcast, we hate these Jim Thorpe watch lists. We hate the Heisman watch list. We hate the Davey O'Brien watch list. Because why not just watch everybody and then do it?
And you don't have to be on the watch list to win the award. So it means nothing. It's not like even if I would hate it, Luke, if they said, okay, we've narrowed it down to 300 finalists. I would be like 300 finalists. I mean, that would be better than, hey, here's 300 names. And whether your favorite player is relevant, because even if you're not on the list, you can still win. So yeah, why are you giving us the list at all? Like you said yesterday, just list every defensive back in the sport. I mean, just do that. If list something.
Not even the starters, because what could happen, a starter Jordan Battle could get hurt, and Terrion Arnold takes his spot. I mean, I'm just throwing a name out. And let's say Terrion Arnold sets the world on fire. Well, he wasn't on your watch list because nobody thought he was starting. It's so stupid. I can't even.
Jaheim Oatis is unlikely to start this fall, not with DJ Dale returning and Byron Young and Justin Boyd, even Tim Smithy. I don't think Oatis is going to jump in front of those guys, but is he going to play? All indications right now are, yeah, he's going to play and probably play some first team snaps. Hard to believe you can be a freshman All-American just playing a handful of snaps, but I think it's awesome because who's not rooting for that? All rooting for him.
Well, let's put it this way. Do you think, and I don't remember, I just have to assume Jalen Hurts was postseason freshman All-American, if there is
Had to
such a
be.
thing.
He was
Had to
SEC
be.
Player of the Year. He was the SEC
But-
Player of the Year, so I hope so.
So, and the odds that he was on any of these watch lists is slim to none.
Right? He didn't even start the first snap. As we know, Blake Barnett started the USC game. It's just Jalen Hurts won the job when he came in. From off the top of my head, I would say he came in about the fourth series. And Blake Barnett had not moved the team, had not done well. And if I remember right, Jalen Hurts came in on about the fourth series and fumbled the first snap.
Yep.
And then it sort of all got better from there. Like I said, a true. I mean, it's hard to imagine. So many things have happened so fast now in the Nick Saban era. There's so many things to celebrate. So many like you've got to be kidding me moments. But how about that? A true freshman quarterback winning SEC Player of the Year. I doubt that had ever happened before, and I don't think it's happened since.
I don't think it's happened since a true freshman, like some redshirt freshmen now. Did Johnny Manziel win it when he was a true freshman? I mean, a redshirt freshman.
He was a redshirt freshman. Was he SEC Player of the Year in 2012? No, I think probably Amari Cooper.
He won the
was.
Heisman.
Oh yeah. Did Cooper? No, you're right. Was he a redshirt freshman? I think he was. Yeah, I guess he was. And Jameis Winston won the Heisman as a redshirt freshman. Too.
Yeah.
I guess they did that in back-to-back years because Manziel was 12 and Winston was 13, right?
That's right.
So that's unbelievable. But Jalen Hurts was SEC Player of the Year as a true freshman.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Manziel won it did he win it in 13 or win it in 12?
I think he won it in 12 because it was beating Alabama. I think you're right.
Yeah, he had to win it in 12. No, Manziel won it then. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
He was like suspended or something for a game or two. And
That's right.
13 is when it all started going real sideways for him. And by the time the draft had rolled around, there were I think in 12, everybody loved Johnny Manziel. And then in 13, everything started going sideways for him. And by the time he had won the Heisman, he was even quite unpopular. By the time of the NFL draft in 2013, there were questions about his character that weren't even popping up in 2012. But in 2013, they were. So he didn't win the Heisman. Winston did. Manziel did have a pretty good year. And I think A&M won a handful of games, but they lost. They either beat or lost to Duke in their team. So it couldn't have been that good of a year.
That's right. It's funny. I remember 2012 or 2013 and the 2013 A&M game very well because that is one of the times I think it was called Coach's Corner. I can't remember what I did, but I did a show with Coach Bill Oliver where we basically announced the game as the game was going on. Like the game is on CBS. And we were with, this big crowd of people at Willow Point Golf and Country Club watching it with us. And we are talking about the game as it's going on TV. So it's almost like we're taking the place of who then would have been Gary and Vern. And I'll never forget it because if you remember, that game lasted forever because there was so much scoring. I think it was
like 50 to 48. It's like 50 to 48 or something.
I think it was 49-42 was the final. But there were so many. Remember there was a 94-yard touchdown to Mike Evans on like a 3rd and 20 or something. But about midway through the third quarter, Bill Oliver, who I love dearly, nice, super dude, he was about on empty in terms of just give out, tired, ready to go home. And I was counting on him to be the color guy. And I remember saying, what a play here. And what do you think about that, coach? You go, yeah, that was a good one. And I'd go, I could literally get anybody else. I didn't need Bill Oliver. I could have Bill Smith tell me that. So
I can't imagine as a defensive guru as brother Bill Oliver was, him watching that offensive explosion and him being very uncomfortable and wanting to go home makes a lot of sense to me. I can imagine him going, is anybody going to play defense here? I mean, is defense a thing at all anymore?
One more thing I want to talk about today, and this is, again, it has to do with Alabama, but not necessarily. Iyaba Anoma has now transferred to the University of Michigan. I want to ask you this. Has there been another guy that didn't work out at Alabama that that you thought had as much potential as this guy did and may never tap it? I mean, you can talk about Alfano, but I don't even know if he's playing football anymore.
I think so.
Now, Alvin Kamara, I guess he was on the path to be that, but he ended up tapping into his potential and being a good dude. I'm not saying Iyaba Anoma is not a good dude. I'm saying that he goes to Alabama, he goes somewhere else. I can't even Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Then he goes to UT Martin.
Yeah, that's right. I think he was kicked out of Alabama and kicked out of Houston. It appears, I don't know the details, but it appears that the moment he got his summer qualified for graduation, he just jumped in the portal to go play big time football as a grad transfer. That's what it looks like. I don't believe he was kicked out of UT Martin. I know big time football is kind of gross at times, but I don't believe Michigan would have taken him had he been kicked out of UT Martin.
No, I agree with that.
I think he just portaled out as a grad transfer. And if that's the case, I'm really happy for the kid that he turned things around, because the odds of you turning things around after being removed from two universities are not good. I mean, the hit rate on players that have been kicked out of two places is it's not a good batting average.
I'm going to be irritated if he turns out to be really good for Michigan, because we all would. I'm for him as a train's passing by. I mean, I've had every kind of ring every kind of bell, but I thought he was going to be the next thing, and he still might. And God bless him, he may be.
Who he's like is, Keon Keeley as a prospect is very similar to Anoma in terms of his build and his burst and explosion. I think they're sort of similar guys. Now, Keon Keeley, not saying that Keon Keeley's this Eagle Scout. I mean, he's got a 3.9 GPA at a private school, in Tampa, and was committed to Notre Dame like after his sophomore year. So they're very different kids at this stage of their development, but physically, in terms of their size and their skill set, kind of similar kids. And I think I talked about this on the show before. Even though he was at UT Martin and was an all-star performance last year at UT Martin, I think 9.5 sacks. The Senior Bowl was seriously considering inviting, and that has nothing to do with Alabama. I mean, Senior Bowl has no connection to Alabama. In fact, and here's the connection, Jim Nagy, who runs the Senior Bowl, is in charge of all that. He's a Michigan guy. And, Anoma's at Michigan. But Nagy at the Senior Bowl was very high on him.
All right, buddy, that's going to do it for today's podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Got a scrimmage this weekend, and can't wait to hear about it. We'll talk about that next week. Roll Tide.